So today I thought we'd work on making our approach a little more serious. If we're gonna be trying to get a 200-inch whitetail out here in Hunter Classic anyway, I figured we might as well at least wear the best clothing possible, and I should probably mention for those of you that don't know, the cowboy hat that we're wearing actually does have good camo for all species, and then the Moon and Crockett camo for everything else is specifically for deer, and if we're doing this, I figure we'll go all in and actually just have Scent Eliminator on the entire time. So what I did was I went through, I think it was all 16 200 scoring whitetail on the leaderboard, and I know this means almost nothing, but I checked where they were killed, and a lot of them were basically south of this line on Whiteheart Island, and then a lot were around the center tower on Loggers Point, so we're going to spend an hour on each map in those areas, and just kind of see what happens, especially with taking the more serious approach with camo and scent control. Well, unsurprisingly, it's not just going to give us a huge buck just because we're taking things a little more seriously. Starting out with a 40 to 65, pretty small buck, but we've definitely had worse. Actually, plenty of times we've started out with like 5 does in a row, so at least it's a male, and at least we've given ourselves an hour on each map, so just a couple of minutes in getting a decent little buck is not too bad, and it's got him out of the way for later on. 58 score though, so hopefully only up from here. This is kind of both what we're looking for, and also the kind of thing that can really derail a hunt where we're specifically trying to do something in an hour. It's an 85 to 100 kg whitetail track, which of course is max weight, but it's over an hour old, so by the time we actually find it, we may be pretty well through the time we were meant to spend here on Whiteheart Island, but we definitely can't ignore it, so hopefully he's not too far away. I can't imagine how that would be the same buck, unless he's right on 85 kg, but he's coming from the right direction. I want to see if we can just drop that, just in case. That looks like a different track, so there might actually be another one somewhere behind him then. There absolutely is, and it's not like he's way bigger, but definitely a better buck. Probably just going to be like 140s. Yeah, 120 to 145, but the weight actually makes sense this time, so that's going to be the one that we've been after. And not too bad, he led us to a spot where we actually took another one out and just kind of got it out of the way. He's going to stop right there for us and see us. He's a little bit too late actually spotting us, so that's now our third buck, and really it didn't even take that long to end up finding him. He grunted pretty much straight away. We might see, just because it's a decent buck and we got 2 down in the same spot, if we can get a quick trophy shot with both of them. But a 97 kg buck and 139.9 score. I saw he had a sticker, so he would have been a 140 without that, but definitely not huge. I probably spent a little more time on that than I should have, but still turned out pretty cool. Now, we still have yet to actually claim the other one, but other than the fact that it's a little bit dark in this area, that wasn't too bad. There's been a doe trying to get in here for pretty much the entire time. Just kind of get her out of the way instead of letting her run off and potentially spook stuff. We'll claim this guy, which was the first one we shot, and the score was 114, so not too bad. At least still better than that first one. And then we'll grab our doe and be on our way. So our hour is pretty much up on Whiteheart, and I haven't seen much else for whitetail ever since the last buck, but there is a male bobcat walking across over there, and I did actually happen to grab the 243, so hopefully he'll walk into the open, and that'll be a decent way to cap our Whiteheart hunt. So finally, he's kind of in the open. Looked like he dropped there. He walked pretty much all the way across behind all the brush and got almost to the open on that side, and then kind of turned around and went back, but I think we ended up with then 3 bucks and a doe, plus the bobcat, in an hour on what felt like more of an elk spawn. We had tracks from a herd of cows. I don't know that we ever encountered them, and there were 2 different herds of bulls that we pretty much passed up because there was nothing special. So this might have something that could work a little better when it's a better spawn, but we've certainly had hunts where we've spent much longer and not even top 130, so we can't complain about getting one decent buck. And I never actually was able to spot this guy, so I have no idea what he is. I'll be able to tell by the weight, but he doesn't look that big. And yeah, 12 kg is pretty small for a male bobcat. Actually, that might be the first male I've ever shot that scored under 8. So that's kind of unfortunate. It may actually be our smallest. There is a track there from a coyote, so that's definitely not something we need to worry about as far as deer. So I think we'll get geared up to go to Loggers Point, and we'll see if it maybe treats us any better. And straight away, we're on to another track job. This time it is a 75 to 95 kg whitetail buck, but it's fairly fresh. Hopefully he'll be as cooperative as the other one. And as far as the area where I kind of saw the 200s killed on the leaderboard, it was kind of between pretty much those two lines, so it's a bit more area to work with than we had on Whiteheart, and hopefully that's going to allow us to kind of be a little more free with our movement. Ooh, that's going to make things interesting. There's also an 80 to 100 track. They're going the same general direction, so if we can get super lucky, it might kind of go like the one on Whiteheart where we had 2 in one spot, but hopefully we can kind of at least hang with whichever one doesn't come in if that's the case and track both. How on earth have we not encountered any of these bucks yet? There's also an 85 to 100. And we sat in the tower and called for a minute just in case. Nothing showed up. But both the 75 to 95 and the 85 to 100 are fresh tracks. I really don't know which buck this is. All I know is it's not the 85 to 100 track we got, so it's one of the first 2. If we can hopefully get him, I would have loved to make a drop shot there, but it'll bring him down. The 85 to 100 track though, there was one really fresh right in this area, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was coming into the call as well, so we're gonna have to kind of sit still. I want to check the blood though. We did get him in the lungs, so at least he won't go far. And what we might do then is just kind of scoot over to that tree stand and maybe see if the other one will come in before we start walking around again. I don't know where that guy came from. I'm guessing that's one of our 3, but that one's actually pretty decent. And then I want to say this should be the one that we had a track that said 85 to 100, just based off where he's coming from. So this might actually be all 3 bucks. Now, we're definitely not going to risk spooking the bigger one by shooting this guy if he gets here first, but because we're using the recurve, we may be able to get away with taking them both, and at the very least we spotted him and we know what his track's going to say, being that 85 to 95. Maybe at 24 meters, this could require a lot of tracking if we make a poor shot, but I think there's also a chance we can end up getting both, although if he comes even closer, that's better. I want to get the shot off as soon as possible now that this guy is well within range. It should be doable. Unfortunately, that's still going to spook him, but we ended up getting definitely the best that was in those 3. If we pick up this track, it is. So that was all 3 bucks. We only killed 2 of them, but not too bad. And I'm quite surprised that he's only a 157, because I thought he was maybe an 8x8. He must be a 7x7. But even for a 7x7, that's pretty low scoring. So I don't know if he's got some deductions, like this time's definitely pretty long here and then this one's short, so that's going to be some. But I'm surprised he scored that low. But anyway, we have a probably half track left from this guy, and then within probably 20 minutes of getting the last track, we've now seen all 3 and managed to kill 2 of them. And it's hard to say how much a factor our camo is, but I feel like that's usually not the way that goes, wearing the camo that's a little less effective on deer. So this might be something we stick with. It's been a really long time since we've worn like the full boot and crockett outfit. Usually I wear like the pants and the boots, but if it works that well and we're able to pretty consistently track animals quickly, I think it's worth it. I am quite glad I went back to look for that. So this guy grunted. He's a 205 to 230 mule deer. I don't want to spend the time waiting for him to come all the way in, because of course we're still kind of operating on a time schedule. But that should be probably lung and liver. I'm not expecting him to go too far even with a 243 hit. And I'm trying to know for sure. I think he's got 1 short main beam. I'm a little worried that maybe that was too low and we just got intestines, but either way it's going to bring him down, I think. The one kind of negative is he kind of ran right back to where we started. But that's definitely a good looking mule deer buck. He does have that short main beam, so that's going to cost him a little bit, but we'll see what we got. And we were too far back, but I mean a 215 mule deer on a whitetail hunt definitely is not a bad deal. It's actually kind of unfortunate though, because this time is short as well. He's got a tiny little sticker here, so he was easily in the 220s if he didn't have like the short tines, but definitely not a bad buck. Like I said, glad that we actually stopped and caught him in. Now hopefully we can get back on our whitetail and at least find 1 more buck before we're done. Unfortunately though, there's just not a whole lot going on for either deer species at this point, but really, I think at best this was kind of like an average number of deer for this kind of hunt. And I do like it because instead of like one longer hunt where we probably might kill more deer, we're kind of doing 2 hunts where we can be a little more sure of the spawns, because once you get into like a 2-hour hunt, you can kind of go to areas where whitetail might spawn, but after 2 hours they could have gone anywhere, whereas with the kind of hour, they probably won't have gone as far, and that makes it a little more predictable. By the way, that headshot was pure luck, because the wind kind of did that. But one little bonus rabbit, and I'm looking forward to actually trying this again and maybe mixing in some red feather falls as well. But really, for the amount of deer we killed, a 130 spuck, a 150 spuck, and a 215 mule deer is definitely not bad. And like I said, as far as numbers go, I think this is average at best, so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of results we can get with this kind of hunt in the future. So anyway, that is going to do it for this video, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.